Do you think you're free? What if I told you that, according to some philosophies, we're just pieces in a controlled system, like sheep in a pasture? The Quran and the Bible refer to us as a flock. Have you ever stopped to think about what that really means? In this video, you'll uncover the darker side of how these texts view us. We're going to explore a truth you might not be ready to hear. Do you have the courage to face this perspective? If the Bible sees us as sheep and the Quran compares us to cattle, what does that say about our freedom, really? Just imagine, if we're the flock, who's holding the staff, and what does that mean for our purpose? Are we just living, or is our existence truly controlled, like animals on a farm? Perhaps the scariest question is, are we ready to deal with what this implies? Do we even want to understand what these words mean? It sounds like something out of a movie, but there are ultra-secret reports out there suggesting we're not even viewed as real individuals. Could there be a hidden reason for us being here? A reason that's never been revealed to us? Imagine if everything we know about our origin, our humanity, is distorted. What if we're carrying something, but for a purpose we don't even know? Something no one has ever dared to tell? Imagine this. Bob Lazar, a guy who claims to have worked at Area 51, that place filled with mystery and conspiracy. He says he dealt with extraterrestrial crafts recovered by the US military after accidents. That's right, alien spacecraft. But the curious detail is that, to enter this ultra-secret sector every day, Lazar went through a rather peculiar biometric hand scanner. According to him, this device scanned the hand joints, a unique part of each person, impossible to replicate. The scanner checked biometric data to confirm identity, ensuring only authorized individuals could access these confidential materials. In the beginning, no one believed him. After all, Lazar had no concrete proof. However, years later, an identical scanner to the one he described actually appeared in use by the United States military, confirming part of his story. This was the same scanner Lazar had mentioned. Of course, Bob Lazar's figure has always been controversial. Many questioned the truth of his words, doubting that he had ever worked at Area 51 or studied alien spacecraft. Yet over the years, evidence has emerged that supports his claims. And the most intriguing part is that these proofs go beyond just the existence of the hand scanner. Long before 2015, when the chemical element 115 was officially discovered and named moscovium, Bob Lazar was already talking about it. Yes, he described this element in detail, claiming it was essential to the propulsion systems of extraterrestrial craft. Moreover, Lazar stated that element 115 had the power to generate energy far more powerful than atomic energy. It sounded like a crazy theory, right? But now, so many years later, what he said is becoming much more intriguing. Today, we're not here to talk about Bob Lazar himself, but about this idea he introduced to the world, which may have gone unnoticed by many. He talked about it way back then. Lazar seemed uncomfortable sharing certain things, as if it was the last thing he wanted to reveal. According to him, he had access to an ultra-secret document. This document presented a curious view, something that even involved religion, something hard to understand. Some alien entities, based on what he read, would view humanity as a kind of container. A container for what? He didn't know. The document didn't make it clear, just container. He spoke quietly, almost like someone letting something slip, but with a weight to his words. The only really heavy thing is that there's an ultra-secret document related to religion. That phrase seemed to bother him, as if there was a truth there he could no longer hold back. Secret documents about religion. It was clear he wanted to touch on this point, as if he needed someone to discuss it with, someone to share it with. It's kind of crazy to think about, isn't it? Because, as it turns out, we might be talking about the world's best-kept secret. The idea is so surreal that any objection seems plausible. The document claims that we are containers. That's supposedly how aliens see us. Not as individuals, but as mere vessels. Unbelievable, right? Even Bob Lazar himself, along with whoever wrote this report, doesn't really know what these containers are for. But we have a hunch, don't we? Like we somehow know more than we're willing to admit. Of course, there's plenty of evidence for this, scattered all around. Years after Lazar's investigations, those still on this quest, trying to uncover who he really worked for, have grasped the magnitude of the issue. They know who we are, as vessels for whatever purpose. and why we're here. Have you ever stopped to think about what it really means to be a container? Who ultimately might have made us? And even more so, what's the reason behind it? The truth might be darker than we imagine. Are you ready to find out who you really are? In recent years, a growing number of officials with access to classified information have begun to speak out about the UFO phenomenon. That's right. What once stayed behind closed doors is now coming to light, revealing shocking details about what's really behind these mysterious encounters. What's most curious is seeing scientists, physicists, and astrophysicists, yes, the same ones who always said intelligent life beyond Earth was a fantasy, in a tough spot. With new information and data surfacing, who would have thought? They seem more lost than the very UFO researchers and conspiracy theorists who tried to warn us all this time. So shall we dive in together and explore what this could all mean? If the Pentagon itself admits that there are unidentified flying objects, and even submerged objects, saying that humanity lacks the technology to explain them, and that they don't know where these things come from, that's significant, right? It's as if the most serious and closed-off institutions, like the government and the military, are beginning to open up about it. They're not only acknowledging these phenomena, but also releasing videos as proof that UFOs are real. There are even congressional hearings on this matter. It seems that soon the veil of secrecy surrounding this topic, hidden away for decades, might finally be lifted, and everything that's been locked away could be revealed. Recently, a US congressman requested that government agencies like the Department of Defense and Intelligence Services make public all videos and records of unidentified flying objects. According to reports, these objects exhibit characteristics far beyond our most advanced technology. The official response? Authorities denied the request, claiming that even these simple recordings could pose a threat to national security. But then comes the question, what do these videos show that could have such an impact on ordinary people that it's considered a risk to state security? Despite this denial, some military personnel are defying orders. Risking punishment and legal action, they have anonymously leaked these videos to trustworthy journalists and documentarians. These leaks have sparked a wave of reports and documentaries that offer a closer look at the mystery of UFOs. The feeling is that we're on the verge of an epic revelation. Look, there's an intriguing story about a video shot in the Middle East, which was delivered anonymously to the documentarian Jeremy Corbell. In this video, captured in thermal imaging, there's a totally bizarre object. It glows and blinks as if it's constantly changing temperature. And the strangest part, its shape is quite unusual, resembling a jellyfish floating in our atmosphere as if it belonged there, not even trying to hide. This video raises a lot of questions, but what really stands out is that, as soon as Corbell released the footage, the Pentagon was furious and demanded an investigation, wanting to know how something so confidential ended up in the hands of a documentarian. And if that weren't enough, other images surfaced, supposedly filmed by military personnel in Afghanistan just a few weeks ago. These new recordings were also linked to Corbell, but he quickly denied any involvement, clarifying that he wasn't the one who received the video. He didn't say it was fake, only that the material didn't come directly to him. Maybe soon we'll get to see the full video and then experts can weigh in on whether it's authentic or just an AI trick. This whole buzz of mysterious revelations started with a few people who had access to classified information, deciding to expose certain details to the public. This movement gained momentum after a New York Times article a few years back, which revealed that the US government knew more about these phenomena than it let on. They even study it in secret but can't explain it, so they choose to keep everything under wraps. Right after this article went live, several people who had worked in the military and US intelligence agencies started to open up about information that, until then, had been kept well out of our reach. Among these figures is Luis Elizondo. He's a former military and intelligence agent who worked directly on investigating UFOs under the purview of the US military and government. And as usual with this kind of revelation, authorities came forward saying they had no idea who he was. On the other hand, people who have worked in related areas within the government assure that Elizondo was the guy the higher-ups reported to about anything related to unidentified aerial phenomena. And like many others who decided to break the silence about what they saw, he speaks very carefully about what he knows. Elizondo doesn't openly claim what these objects really are, but he seems to believe there are good reasons to think they might not be from this planet. But that's not the kind of statement you make publicly, right? This secret is kept under lock and key. Like Bob Lazar, another figure known for bombshell revelations, Elizondo maintains a certain mystery when he gives interviews. And there's one specific part of this mystery that seems to affect him even more: the possible connection between spirituality and extraterrestrial phenomena. It may sound strange, I know. How do you link something so technological to something spiritual? What Luis Elizondo reveals is surprising and reinforces what I've been telling you. More and more information is coming out, day after day. I vividly recall a significant conversation he had with an important and highly respected figure. During this conversation, this person asked him, "I want you to stop this." Surprised, he responded, "Of course, sir, I can do that, but may I ask why?" And the man replied, "Well, we already know what this is." At that moment, Elizondo wondered if he might have stumbled upon some ultra-secret project, something we developed ourselves, some advanced technology of our own. He then asked, "So is this ours?" And the response was sharp. "That's not what I said." Things became even more intriguing when the man asked, "Have you read the Bible lately?" Elizondo was puzzled. In a skeptical tone, he replied, "Well, sir, I know more or less what the Bible talks about. What exactly are you referring to?" And then came the response, "Then you would understand that this is something demonic and that we should not pursue them." The conversation ended in a way that left him uneasy, as if he was suddenly dealing with something far bigger and more sinister than he could have imagined. Imagine this: what if we were created as vessels, ready to contain something, like a farm where farmers raise, plant, and harvest? Could we just be part of something larger? Luis Elizondo has some very interesting things to say about this. Have you ever wondered if everything we've been told about who we are, where we come from, and our role in the universe is distorted? What if what we were taught in school, what we hear around the dinner table, in childhood stories, all of it, is just a little bit, let's say, incomplete? Are we truly ready to question, honestly, the foundations of who we are? And there's more. Have you ever considered that maybe we aren't at the top of the food chain? We like to see ourselves as the apex predators, but what if that's not quite true? What if, actually, we're somewhere in the middle of this pyramid? Many of us, whether believers or atheists, love to think we're above it all. But reality doesn't cater to our ego. It is what it is. And maybe this truth is far greater than we can imagine. Think about it. We go on believing we're at the top of the food chain, but are we really? Let's think about a farm. The cattle there didn't get there on their own, did they? They were placed there with a purpose. So who's really on top? The cow that believes it's at the center of the system, or the farmer who put it there? The truth is, control always lies with those who create and organize the environment, the controllers. And as much as we may not like to admit it, there are more and more signs every day that we're in that same position, sort of creatures of a larger system that we may not fully understand. Hold on, are you comfortable with this idea? That maybe we're only here to be used? No, hang on, look around. Everything you've ever done, every choice you thought was yours, every desire you believed was genuine. What if none of it was real? What if it's all been programmed to make us feel important, while deep down, we're just pieces on this chessboard? Look, this isn't cheap conspiracy talk, okay? It's like a puzzle, and the pieces are right there, in front of you. But only those who want to see will actually see. The next part, it's for those who truly want to know the answer. The deeper we dig, the more we realize there are some dark areas in this story, so obscure. This isn't something I picked up randomly online, you know? There's a spiritual aspect to all of this that even I can't fully understand. And maybe that's why this whole issue resonates with me so profoundly. Look, one thing that's becoming more and more evident is that part of these leaks and reports we've been hearing about lately is happening because in reality we're not ready to handle certain truths. It's as if part of the government would rather keep this hidden because knowing too much might be too unsettling for a lot of people. So let's move on to the next point. There are people saying that the truth about these unidentified flying objects, these UFOs, might actually have something to do with realms beyond our earthly reality. And from what's being said, the answer to all this touches on aspects that connect with our spiritual, mystical, even religious side. It's as if everything is interconnected. you know? What's most intriguing is seeing highly intelligent individuals, people who have or have had access to classified information, insist that there's something religious involved here and that we, humans, are like vessels of energy. It's kind of strange, but for the skeptics, it seems like one day the realization will hit. And when this moment of harvest comes, maybe it'll be too late to understand everything that's on the way. The strangest thing of all is noticing that these people, who seem to know a lot more than we'd expect, avoid speaking openly about what they know. It's as if there's something insurmountable, a secret too big that they can only share in fragments. Who knows? Maybe they're afraid of facing repercussions or even of being labeled as crazy. After all, it's easy to think that this talk sounds a bit fantastical, even scary. And that leaves us with the lingering question: if they decided to tell us absolutely everything about the religious side of these phenomena, this dimension of UFOs that escapes our understanding, what else might we come to know? Hey there, have you ever stopped to think about the kind of information that could really instill fear? Something that maybe even touches on religious themes, like the beliefs in Abrahamic religions. For instance, the Quran compares us to cattle, and let's be real, cattle aren't exactly at the top of the food chain. And in the Bible, God refers to humans as sheep. In Ezekiel, it's written, "You are my sheep, the sheep of my pasture. I am your God." In other words, we're kind of like the flock of a farm, like a cow whose purpose is to give milk. Then there's Buddhism, which, depending on how it's interpreted, might come close to this idea, though not exactly. It's a philosophy, a mystical vision that seeks to understand the purpose of everything, and in it, humans can also be seen as vessels. And for whoever the owners of this farm might be, the key is to keep everything under control without ever revealing the real purpose of the herd's existence. In the end, it feels like we're dealing with a profound mystery, maybe spiritual, mystical, and even a bit terrifying. Now, for these owners of the farm, spiritual work is a practice that has to be done with consistency and discipline, a routine to extract what truly matters to them. This vital nourishment is what the cattle was created to provide. And look at that. For the cow, the slaughterhouse is the inevitable end. But until it gets there, its life seems okay, almost natural. Maybe it thinks, well, this is my fate. And us? We end up thinking the same thing as we grow old, seeing wrinkles form and feeling our bodies wear out, as if this were the natural cycle of life. Have you ever thought about how, little by little, we're being emptied? Without even realizing it, we become like vessels that, once their vital content is gone, can't hold anything more. And then, there comes a point when we're discarded, as if it were a natural death, something inevitable. It even feels like there's a religious question at play here. But honestly, understanding this can be unsettling. But if we think about it, this fear is only ours. We, the vessels. The truth is that we serve as nourishment, or more precisely, as producers of this nourishment. And that role scares us because those who created us have no feelings for us. There's no love, no compassion, nothing. To them, we're as exciting as a steak or a carton of milk on a store shelf. The relationship we might have with these creators is somewhat similar to the gratitude we feel toward the farmer who fills our shelves with fresh produce. We know that consuming these products makes us feel nourished, even stronger. And who benefits from this? Everyone, except the cow, of course. But who bothers to ask the cow what she thinks about it? In the same way, there's no point in questioning those who milk us. For them, milking is inevitable. The only choice we have is who does the milking, or how long we try to delay the process. And do you know what's interesting? All religions seem to agree on one thing. We must fear and love a higher force, a God. Sacrifice, fear, devotion. We're taught to place all of these above anything else, even above our own loved ones. Remember the story of Abraham, who was called to sacrifice his own son? Yes, that same Abraham who gave rise to the Abrahamic religions. But even if we decide to renounce this God, all gods, and the love and fear we feel toward them, we can't completely free ourselves. Perhaps this is the reason, so that in the end, there isn't really a consequence we can avoid. Here's the thing, there's an incredible piece of evidence, maybe the greatest of all, that answers once and for all the question of how and why religion and the UFO phenomenon intertwine with what we understand about extraterrestrial life. It's as if there's an ancient story of manipulation and control where these farm owners keep everything running in the way that suits them best. The truth is, with a bit of reflection, it's hard to doubt this idea. The way I see it, our crop of human beings, this grand farm of vessels, continues to grow and thrive because, up until now, keeping this system going has been beneficial for them. But the moment that caring for this herd becomes more work than making a fresh harvest and replanting, everything could change. At that point, we will be pushed to the brink, forced to live in a world where life, both emotionally and physically, feels unbearable. This sense that things are getting worse and worse only grows stronger, and when we reach the peak of this chaos, this so-called harvest will take place. Of the survivors, those who withstand this avalanche of disasters and chaos, only the strongest seeds will remain, those who manage to survive under extreme conditions. These individuals, who understand what's happening and can pass on that knowledge, are like those rare, resilient seeds that can grow even in the coldest places, or like cows that are able to produce more milk, even under challenging conditions. These skills, developed almost by accident, make these survivors a kind of new generation, a special crop. They will inherit a world that will seem magical, almost divine. They'll be pampered, given gifts, and receive the favor of the farmers. But deep down, to these farm owners, will still be just vessels, just resources. Now, for the more skeptical, this idea might even bring to mind an eco-farm, where everything is freer and people take better care of the environment. But don't be fooled. There's still a need for extraction from whatever is produced, and everything has to be in line to generate a return. In this case, what they take from us, humans, and this is the surprising part, is worth much more than we imagine. It all starts with a simple no to those who always take this resource for free. When we decide to keep it for ourselves and learn how to do it the right way, this element, once extracted from us, starts working in our favor. It's almost as if reality is set up to obey those who truly possess this resource, whether we're ready for it or not. It sounds almost otherworldly, but each of us carries the most precious asset there is. Let me share a personal story to give you an example. I spent years trying to lose weight, and nothing seemed to work, no matter how hard I tried. Frustrating, right? It felt like every attempt was a waste of time, and I reached a point of despair. To make things worse, I was taking medications that made the process even more difficult, and I started to believe that changing my situation was impossible. So in a moment of complete exhaustion, I did something almost without thinking, an improvised ritual, if you will. I can't exactly explain what it was, but something in me just shifted. And after years of struggle, as if by magic, things began to happen. Suddenly, everything that seemed impossible became real, and I finally managed to lose weight. What I'm experiencing now is something I never thought would be possible. This resource I'm talking about has incredible power. It can rejuvenate, bring youth, and extend life. No, it doesn't stop time or defeat death, but it definitely helps maintain youth and enhances our quality of life. This resource is, without a doubt, the most valuable thing in human existence. So much so that our lives, as we know them, depend on it more than we realize. Imagine that Earth is a grand project, a true mega project. We live on a planet that operates almost like a farm, and our most valuable resource is something mysterious, powerful, this element. But it's not just any element. It's one that carries a unique energy used to create, to strengthen, and some say, even to shape reality. A power that elevates, transforms, making something or someone almost divine, no exaggeration. It's as if gods only become gods through this element, and our very existence continues to feed this force. Interesting, isn't it? This mysterious element has many names. Some call it Gene X, others nectar. It appears in different forms and purities, but the rarest and most potent version is known as the nectar of the Arak house. And guess where it comes from? People themselves. Yes, our planet is an endless source of this element, and when it's truly harnessed, it's capable of extending lives and fulfilling desires. It's like a catalyst for progress. Great minds like Tesla and Newton, for example, were supposedly touched by this force. They were loners or nearly celibate, according to their most well-known biographies. Now, I'm not saying anyone should follow that path, as everyone chooses what's best for themselves. But it's worth understanding this reality, this extraordinary possibility that the element offers. And believe me, there's plenty of proof of this. Extracted from people, this element has incredible power. It holds the potential for miracles. Without it, maybe it's impossible to reach where you want to go. Now tell me something, my dear earthling. You, vessels of ideas, humans of flesh and blood, tell me, how do you think? Was this farm we're on programmed so we could really live well and in peace? Or do the owners of this system know very well that fear and insecurity are the best ways to keep us under control, manipulating our minds, our emotions, our thoughts? Look at that. You made it to the end of this video. And that tells me a lot about you. Because, let's be honest, not everyone ventures into topics this deep and even a bit unsettling, right? This talk about being more than we think, or maybe less free than we imagine, isn't easy to digest. But you stayed. And to me, that's a sign of courage, of curiosity, a genuine drive to understand what lies behind it all. So let me thank you in a special way. Thank you for being here with me on this journey, for giving these mysteries a chance, for reflecting with me on what it means to be heard, vessel, or even human. Every time someone like you stays until the end, I feel like we're building a connection, you know? It's not about believing or not, but about opening the mind, challenging what we've always been told. We're kind of together in this search, trying to discover what exists beyond the curtains that surround us. And if this conversation made you feel a little less alone, or brought you a new perspective, then it was totally worth it. That's why I invite you to stick with us, keep exploring these ideas, questioning, and maybe even sharing. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave your comment. I'd love to know what you think about all this, because your perspective is part of this puzzle too. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Let's keep going on this journey, always watching for what makes us human, and who knows, maybe finding if there's something more waiting for us beyond all this. And before you go, don't miss these 2 videos I picked just for you. They're packed with deep insights and fascinating discoveries that you'll love. Click on one and continue your journey of self-discovery and quest for wisdom with the incredible content our channel has to offer.